is going on, YouTube, and coming back with my next top 10. So today I will be doing my top 10 most hated NBA teams, also done the NFL and college football versions of this, and I'll probably round it out with doing every single professional sport and then also college basketball. But anyway, like I said, come back today with NBA, and start off with number 10. I've got the Oklahoma City Thunder. So there's a couple reasons why. I don't believe them just as a team right now, like just player-wise, are a very hateable team, but it's just kind of the situation they ran into. I could understand if you're from like the Northwest, you were a huge Sonics fan, and it wasn't really the fact that it was a bad fan base. It was just the fact that they weren't able to get a new arena built, and then the new owner relocated to Oklahoma City. I believe that Oklahoma City, no offense to Seattle, but I believe that Oklahoma City has been an overall better fan base to that team than Seattle would have been, but it's hard to tell because the Thunder have been so good. It'd be interesting to see what would happen if the Thunder became a bottom feeder for a couple of years. Fan bases always change when that happens. So for me, I think it's just the pure fact of having Kevin Durant drafted. A year later, they move. He turns into a superstar, and the franchise becomes a championship contender almost every single year. That'd be a very heart-wrenching thing to have happen if you were a huge Sonics fan or really just a basketball fan of the Northwest. Also, the Thunder have been good. Any team that's good becomes somewhat unlikable, or not really unlikable, but anytime a team becomes good, people want to see them lose. Just the underdog mindset. So at number 9, I got the Miami Heat. If I was doing this video a couple years ago, the Heat would have been a lot higher. But since the Big Three is not really a thing there anymore, they're not as bad to me. I'm a huge Pacers fan, and back a couple of years ago, that was a huge rivalry. That was one of the better ones in basketball between the Pacers and the Heat, so I could understand part of it. Dwyane Wade and Chris Bosh are two guys that still, I remember reading an SI article where they quoted that it still reeks of entitlement there for the Big Three between those two. And individually, I believe they're both pretty likable dudes. Dwyane Wade's a not really a hometown guy, but stuck with one team throughout his career. Been a good player. I mean, like I said, he stuck through a lot between his whole knee situation and everything that's cycled in and out of Miami. And he's been there the entire way, winning championships with LeBron and with Shaq. And Chris Bosh also fighting through the blood clots. I just kind of want to see him do well. He's a good center, but like I said, it's just the kind of the fumes from the former entitlement and also the fan base in Miami. Florida fans tend to be very hateable fans since it's kind of known as a little bit of a bandwagon state. Number 8, I got the Chicago Bulls, and one of the bigger fan bases in basketball, one of the bigger markets in basketball also. I think this is just stemming from how big the fan base is. Any team that has this large a fan base is also going to be one of the most loved and one of the most hated fan bases. And the Bulls really just haven't lived up to expectations, which makes them really easy to get criticized. It seems like the last 5-6 years they've been the next team up that should be taking control of the East, and regardless if it was the Heat at the time back a couple years ago or the Cavaliers now, the Bulls really haven't been able to ever be that shining star in the Eastern Conference that really takes over in the spotlight, and they've really just never been able to be the best team and step up when you think that they're about to. And again, it makes them very easy to get criticized because of that. So at number 7, I've got the Cleveland Cavaliers. So the Cavs, mainly just because they have LeBron James. There's a few other things. Now, the owner, how he handled that whole LeBron situation after LeBron left really made both ends kind of hateable there. And then the fact they're rejoining forces. At the same time, you're like, a lot of people are like, well, LeBron's going home. He's trying to help Cleveland get a championship, so that's cool. It's just the amount of spotlight he has from the media just makes him a very hateable player. Just because when you have every single crevice of your life exposed in the media, then I don't know, it changes the way people perceive you, and it just changes the way you kind of handle going about your daily routine. And A lot of things that aren't exposed from other players are obviously exposed just because he's LeBron. But at number 6, I've got the LA Clippers. And I feel like this on the West, if I was from the West Coast, it would be a much different list. The Clippers would probably be higher. But just when you're in the central part of the country or the East Coast, it's just not as, the hate's not as apparent. I mean, to be honest, Chris Paul's a pretty likable dude. DeAndre Jordan, yeah, that whole situation was bad between the Mavericks and the Clippers. And that, I guess in Dallas, there'd still obviously be some hurt feelings. But and the whole Blake Griffin thing right now kind of adds up too. But as a whole, it's not a very hated team just because they haven't been that good for that long. Anyway, at number 5, I got the Boston Celtics. And really this is just for one thing, and that's just because Boston is a team that, or Boston is a city that has a whole bunch of hated sports teams. It's just the mentality people have towards Boston teams, regardless of it, mainly the Patriots, and then also the Bruins, the Celtics, and the, who am I missing? Oh, the Red Sox. Just every one of those teams tends to be one of the more hated teams in sports. Like I said, it's just because it's a Boston thing. Boston fans are very proud of their teams, like to talk a lot of shit about their or like to talk a lot of shit defending their teams. And like I said, it's just an unlikable attitude. So at number 4, I got the Houston Rockets, and I don't like or hate the Rockets, but Dwight Howard and James Harden are definitely 2 of the more hateable players in basketball. It's just, it seems like Dwight Howard is, in all honesty, he just seems like kind of a pussy. Like, if I'm being honest, it's Dwight Howard. At this point in his career, he just kind of folds in one place, goes to another, expects to win a championship, and then seems like he'll leave that place again. Happened in LA, happened in Houston. He didn't leave Orlando in the best way either. When he was back in Orlando, at least he was putting up all-star caliber numbers. Then he hit LA, and then it was just, he just couldn't handle it. Me, I personally don't hate or like Dwight Howard. I think he's a very talented center, still one of the more athletic ones in the NBA, but he's regressing extremely fast. So at number 3, I've got the Philadelphia 76ers, and I just don't like them just because it's one of the teams that seems like could ruin basketball. I can't imagine being a Sixer fan just knowing every single year your team is literally going to do everything it takes to lose. And then I feel bad for every player that's drafted to the Sixers. I mean, it feels like if they just, one year, just stopped trying to tank, just took every young piece they had and really tried to build something, they'd at least be a decent team, especially in the East, which is weaker normally each year. I mean, this is a team that has, if you actually look at it, one of the best front courts in the NBA. I mean, this is a team that just took Jahlil Okafor, who was a candidate for Rookie of the Year. I mean, they have Nerlens Noel, one of the best young power forwards in the NBA. They've got Joel Embiid whenever he comes off injury. And, I mean, it's a loaded front court, in all honesty. And then they had Michael Carter-Williams, got rid of him. I mean, they've had a lot of talent going back a couple of years. Thad Young, they just kind of dished off when he was the main piece of the team. And I think even Tony Broughton, I think he was good. They just pretty much got rid of him. I mean, some of the point guards they've had running that team the last couple of years have just kind of been garbage. No offense to those point guards. Isaiah Canaan was not very good. And like I said, I just don't like the way the Sixers handle everything. It's not good for the NBA. At number 2, I've got the New York Knicks, and it's the Knicks. It's one of the biggest fan bases in basketball, and again, same thing as the Bulls. It's just easy to hate a team when there's that much love for a team, there's also going to be that much hate for a team. At number 1, I've got the obvious Los Angeles Lakers. So, Lakers are probably the biggest fan base in the country, stemming back, obviously, to even the 70s. You know, this team's been winning championships for a long time. They've had big names on the roster for a long time. I'm assuming right now, you can't really hate them too much right now. Maybe, sorry, chair's fucking up a little. There's some big, obviously they still got Kobe. There's not very many, like I said, not very many big names right now. Really, the only one that makes headlines outside of just basketball and Kobe is Nick Young. And like I said, it's just they're not very good right now. And I mean, maybe after the Kobe era is over, they'll be able to move on and rebuild. But like for right now, I just think it's the aura of the past Laker teams that makes them such a hateable team, the number one most hated team in basketball. Also the fans, for sure. There are a lot of fans that just, like I said, talk a lot of shit about their team. They kind of have like a little bit of the bandwagon attitude, and again, a very unlikable attitude. But that's pretty much it. That does it for my top 10 most hated NBA teams. Like I said, I did the NFL version of this. I also did the college football version of this. I'll put the links, or I'll put the link to the entire playlist in the description below for all my top 10 videos. I've been trying to do these every single day. So I end up doing about 4 a week, and I like doing, if it takes a day off to think of a better quality video for the next day, then sometimes I'll do it. But I think that I'll try to continue this trend of the top 10 most hated teams. I think it's a fun subject to talk about, and everyone's got an opinion on it. So yeah, that's pretty much it. So my top 10 NBA draft busts of all time. So I've already done my NFL, and I did that one a little while ago. So I figured I'd do my NBA before too long. And this is a list that's kind of hard to put together because there are a lot of candidates for the bottom end of this list. About numbers 7 through 10 are very hard to